Hello and welcome to the special show on Eat Now. We are calling it Metal, the future of the packaging industry. Now, how many of you really think about packaging, especially when you're opening that packet of chips or just picking up that cold can of drink in your hand? Because actually that plays a crucial role in your entire experience, and it also plays a crucial role in terms of really what happens to the environment every time you throw that packet of chips away or throw that can away. And we are here to discuss in greater detail about really all aspects of the packaging industry and make a connect to you as the consumer. So let me introduce you to some of the key players who are here in the industry, and starting off with Mr. Sanjay Bhatia, who's the Managing Director of Hindustan Tin Works. Thanks, Sanjay, for joining us. Next to him is Mr. Bhavik Bakshi, the Vice Chancellor of Terry University. And finally, we've got Mr. Samar Singh Shekhawat, the Senior Vice President of United Breweries. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on the show. All right. When I was first given this topic, packaging, it sort of made me think that, we don't really think too much about packaging. It's there for me, I get the product, and pretty much most consumers just toss it away and don't think about it again until they have to go out and buy another product. But for you, as part of the industry, clearly packaging is actually a huge role, has actually grown at a tremendous pace here in the country, given the kind of economic progress that we've made. So take us through really what the kind of scope is of this industry in the current context of the Indian economy.
Starting with the word you said, packaging. It packs the aging process of the product which is packed therein. That's the primary role of any packaging. And packaging industry in India, or anywhere for that matter, generally grows double than the GDP. If India grows at 7 to 8%, packaging industry grows at 15 to 16%, and that's a fact in India also. Today's size of the packaging industry in India is about $17 billion, and it is expected to be double than this size in 2015. So that's the kind of size which the packaging industry has. It goes through all the different packaging formats, whether it is glass, whether it is tin, whether it is paper. So everything, it comprises of all the segments of the industry.
Right.
And the packaging, as we call it, it is an expression of the soul of the product. It's a silent salesman. The first thing which consumer connects is the packaging to buy any product. So that's the importance of packaging. In fact,
I think that's a great point to bring in Samar at this point, because clearly, that's the connect that you want to make, for instance, at United Breweries, when your consumer wants to go out and connect. So how crucial a role is really packaging in terms of, how you decide that the kind of packaging that each product should actually go with?
Well, I think it's very critical, as Sanjay said. In fact, he put it really poetically. But packaging is perhaps the most critical element in the consumer decision-making process, especially at point of purchase. The moment of truth is when the consumer picks up that pack. And what I have seen is consumers are getting more and more aware and more savvy. So if you look at a supermarket or at traditional trade, no matter where you go, you'll see consumers picking up the pack, reading the nutritional contents, reading information, looking at best before dates, looking at manufacturer details, etc. And that's what triggers a purchase decision, and especially so for a category like alcoholic beverages, because we operate in a media dark environment.
Right.
The packaging determinant is the single most critical point in the decision-making process. So I couldn't overstate that point more.
So here we have an industry that is growing in leaps and bounds, but clearly this is bound to have an environmental impact, especially with India being one of the fastest economies in the world. And let me bring you in at this point, because you're looking at the environmental impact. Is it all bad news when you hear the kind of numbers that both the guests on both your sides are talking about?
It cannot be totally one-sided. It is not totally one-sided, and clearly packaging plays a huge role in terms of making sure that the products don't get spoiled too early, and in making sure they make it from the manufacturer or the producer to the consumer, and then making sure that there is a shelf life. So these are very, very important things. I mean, clearly wasting food is much worse than wasting packaging material, so to say.
So that's one big
that's a huge positive, no question about it. And consumers also connect with it, and it leads to greater maybe satisfaction of some sort. So those are all positives which cannot be overlooked. But clearly there is also a negative side. like most things, there are positives and negatives, and the negative side with respect to packaging comes from the fact, and it's not just packaging, a lot of things that we use in today's modern world comes from the fact that there is a lot of dependence on non-renewable resources. Be it fossil fuels, be it minerals, be it even water if it is pumped out from the ground too fast. So these are the challenges that we face today, and the ultimate challenge is to figure out where is a healthy balance between all of these things.
So
you
let's
can't
talk a
go
little bit
totally
about
one way or the other.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about that balance. And Sanjay, I'm going to ask you here about, we are here to talk a little bit more about metal. Now, there are various forms of packaging, as you just said. When I hear about metal packaging, obviously I think about the cans which are there all around us. But as an industry producer, really, how do you approach metal? Because it's still a very small part of the entire packaging industry, just about 10%?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, but metal packaging, again, if you really see, it's in existence for last 200 years.
Right.
It's a traditional pack, but very important packaging material.
Is that right? For the last 200 years?
200
because I thought
years,
the
yes.
technology is very...
We just completed 200 years of food can last year, and that's where we started our Can Environment Week.
Right.
So you see, it has completed. It's a traditional pack, but now if you really see, since 70s and 80s, it has really seen a lot of technological improvements, bringing a lot of consumer conveniences, a lot of formats in printing, a lot of formats in designs and all. So those are the things which improvements have come so that it can really communicate.
So now we can see metal packaging. Explain to me, make that connect to me as a consumer. I know it's there in my food cans.
Yes.
It's there in my beverage cans.
Yeah.
And what else is it there in terms of packaging?
No, it's in the non-food segment also. Like it's in paints, pesticides, and aerosol sprays and all those things. So it's everywhere.
Right.
So it's not only food and beverage, but they are the most important segment for metal, food and beverage. So because if I really see, almost in metal packaging, almost close to 50% of the consumption, or rather 75%, sorry, 75% of the consumption of the metal packaging goes into food and beverage.
Okay, let's take that forward in terms of beverage, because here we're talking about the future of packaging and metal, and we all know about the cans, but as a company you have various materials there in front of you that you can utilize. But what about you as a company? How do you really approach metal and in terms of really its future for your own products?
Well, I think the cans, whether they are steel or aluminum, are regarded as a premium packaging delivery format. So that's number one. Number two, it is regarded as being tamper-proof, being hermetically sealed. There is a reassurance on the part of the consumer that this is a genuine product. Number three, as far as printing technology is concerned, as far as creative rendition of our brand name, design, logos, etc., it is second to none. There's a huge flexibility of the kind of graphics and designing that you can put on cans, and that increases the allure and attractiveness of the can. Fourth, the stackability of cans, whether it's on the retail shelves or side chilling equipment, is optimal. Space utilization is much higher than other packaging delivery formats.
Right.
Very importantly, it's a portable, mobility-enabled packaging delivery
Basically,
format.
I can take it in my hand and
So
take it
it's-
anywhere.
Absolutely. So it's you can carry it and consume the product on the go, and that's huge convenience as far as the consumer is concerned.
Talking about the future of packaging, and Bhavik, let me bring you in here, because in terms of, here we have two speakers. We're talking about really metal and their importance, and both from a end user perspective and from a producer's perspective. From an environmental perspective, and especially here in India, do you think the fact that the industry appears to be moving in a certain direction, is that going to benefit in terms of really how we approach recycling here in the country?
Well, there is this mantra of reduce, reuse, recycle.
Yeah.
Right? So reduce means not use at all. That's the best thing. Reuse means you reuse, it's the same thing, you can reuse it without really doing much with it. And then there is a third one, which is recycle. Now, recycling is of many types. There is recycling where the material can be used for the same task. Then there is downcycling, where the material can be used for a kind of a lower task. So, for example, tires being used for triples. That's not recycling, that's downcycling. The neat thing about cans, and one of the things that is attractive from an environmental point of view, is that even though the total amount of energy that it takes, for the entire life cycle of a metal can be quite high on a per can basis. The good thing is that they can be recycled lots of times, and it may come, it has to be picked up. And talking of India specifically, because of the important role that the rag pickers play in our recycling infrastructure, if I may call it that, cans have more of a value as compared to many other materials out there. So they tend to get picked up much more readily than a lot of other materials. And you can see for yourself standing on a train station or just look by the side of the roads, it's very rare to find metal cans.
Yeah, all we see are mounds of plastic and possibly paper. So that's the one thumbs up. Yeah,
just one thing I would like to add what you said is that the recyclability, as you said, is, I totally agree, it's very important. You see, if you really see, we looked at the figures, if 1 ton of steel which is recycled, this saves about 1.5 tons of iron ore, and also half a ton of coking coal. Like what I'm trying to say is that if you use a can which is recycled, so you will still produce a steel. I mean, you will save so much of the minerals, natural resources in the process.
One is theoretically when a product is recyclable. The other is actually implementing that theory in actual practice, especially in a country as large as India. And you've mentioned the point of rag pickers. And clearly they play a fundamental role in each of your business life cycles. Please explain to us, because I understand you've been sort of the initiator in terms of this Can Environment Week. And it is a pity because you mentioned rag pickers. They're such a fundamental part of the system, yet they're perhaps the worst paid and the worst looked after. So how do you as a company really approach this? Because it's clearly a fundamental part of the way your business operates.